Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of tea with snacks if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman who sneaked into a pool without a pool pass, so she decided to sacrifice her child's life to hide the truth. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. My very first legitimate job at age 16 was as a lifeguard for both the indoor and outdoor pools at a large lake resort. I had absolutely nothing to do with reservations, rooms, housekeeping, the restaurants etc. I was a freaking lifeguard. It was my third day on the job. Anybody could access the outdoor pool, and since the resort was located in a state park, open to the public, we often had people coming up from the lake and the marina trying to swim in the pool. Anybody could buy a season pass or a single-day entry to the pool per second, and we had 2 employees that would periodically walk the outdoor pool deck to check for either room keys or pool passes. One day, a woman who was letting her young son swim freely without any supervision was sitting at a table with an umbrella on the corner of the deck, slurping down alcoholic beverages. She kept sending her slightly older daughter over to my lifeguard stand to complain about things. My mommy wants to know why nobody has come to take another drink order. My mommy says the umbrella doesn't give enough shade and wants to know if we can move to the upper deck. The upper deck was reserved for guests of the resort and had assigned tables and chairs with umbrellas per room number. The third time this kid came up to me, without taking my eyes off the water, I told her to let her mommy know that the lifeguards weren't in charge of any of those things and that I couldn't carry on conversations with anybody while keeping people safe in the pool. Daughter goes back over to mom walks over and pulls son from the water to talk to him for a minute, and then son gets back to swimming. I'm actively scanning and can see all of this. 5 minutes later, EM comes storming over to my stand and demands that I give her a spot on the upper deck. When I refused to look in her direction and started to tell her she'd need to talk to the front desk, she, somewhat quietly, hissed at me about how rude I was being. Next thing I know, son goes underwater. He's in the deep end, where he can't touch and isn't a strong swimmer. He was holding onto the ledge but got distracted, I wonder what by, and let go. I immediately blow my whistle and jump in, pull him up and out of the pool, and start assessing him. The other guard on duty blows her whistle and empties the water, protocol for a rescue, there. Everyone is watching, and EM screams, "How dare you ignore my requests? How dare you embarrass my son and me like this?" She yanks her son up by the arm and starts pulling him towards their table, as I follow and tell her we need to wait on EMS to arrive, which the other lifeguard is called to the front desk and requested via radio. She screams, "He is fine, and we are leaving." Son is coughing up water and crying, and I attempt to tell mom about delayed, drowning. By now, the aquatics and resort manager are walking our direction. The managers both make it to us, and M is refusing to wait for EMS, screaming that she's a CNA and can care for her own son, that dry drowning isn't real, and that we can't keep them there. The aquatics manager asks her to stay long enough to fill out an incident report refusal form, and the resort manager asks for her room number so they can be checked on later. This is when everything clicks. EM has no room number, which I already knew but didn't have time to mention to my manager, no pool pass, and no right to be there at all. She's willing to risk her son's life in order to avoid this information becoming apparent. She snuck in after the last deck check and planned to leave as the next started, about a 2-hour window. Daughter is crying now, saying mommy said we were coming here to swim and get ice cream. EM is screaming about suing me and the resort and is belligerent enough that management determines she's drunk and can't drive with her kids. Park rangers show up, followed by EMS, and the rest is out of my hands, and I honestly don't know what happened to them. I do know the family was permanently banned from the resort, though. That was the first rescue I had ever made, and I was commended for it by management and other pool goers. It was a wild Sunday. I went on to be a lifeguard for nearly 15 years, at pools and lakes in the ocean, as well as to manage my own pools. I could tell endless stories of entitled parents and children that I dealt with on a regular basis, especially as a pool manager, but this is always the story that sticks out in my head, since it was my first job and my first rescue. Oh dear God, what a terrible mom we have here. I hope the kid is fine after what has happened. I cannot believe that woman was risking her kid's life to hide that information. That woman shouldn't be a parent. For context, my fiancé and I have been in a relationship for the past 10 years and just recently got engaged. While it's understandable that 10 years might sound a bit too much, we started dating really early and getting married was not a priority for either of us. We actually preferred to focus on our studies and career for a while. She's a civil engineer and I'm a medical student. After getting a bachelor's and a master's, I do freelancing as a developer to pay for my living expenses. As we have been a couple for a long time, it's quite common for people to ask us when we're getting married and when we're having kids. Well, we are getting married as soon as I finish med school. We decided not to have children a long time ago, and we're still very certain of that decision, as both of us are more career than family oriented. However, since the engagement, our families have started to put more pressure on us to get married soon and have children, even though we told them plenty of times that's not gonna happen. My fiancé and I live together and we're completely independent from our families financially. Some time ago, during a video chat, we ended up getting into a heated argument with our families for finally snapping at their ceaseless nagging for grandchildren, and we have been strained ever since. Now, our families ask us to meet them for a lunch-in family at my parents' house. We don't live in the same city, but it's close enough that we can go there for something like this, and that's when the following situation transpired. We arrived early enough to help out in preparing everything for the lunch, and for the next hour or so, things were pretty alright. But after we had lunch and we sat at the coffee table to chat, it's customary here, the room got visibly tense. Our parents, both hers and mine, started a speech about how much they put into us, how much they worked for us, and how much family means to them. I was already sensing some crappy thing coming, but I kept listening. Suddenly, they said that during one of their talks, they came to a decision that if my fiancé and I didn't give them grandchildren, after all they had done for us, we would be cut out of their wills. Their reasoning was this. My brother is gay and as of now, have no intention of adopting or any alternative to have children, and I was the only option on continuing the family. He was not there and is as mortified as I am. She is the oldest sister, her younger sister is still in high school, and thus, must set an example by having a family and continuing the family. Now, if that's not psychotic, I have no clue what is. We quickly looked between ourselves and immediately left their house. We haven't spoken to them since, but as far as we are aware, we're disowned by now. I never thought I would have to go through that, just because I don't want to have children. But it just shows how much entitlement they think they have. I think OP should get restraining orders on all of them and notify anybody OP does business with, including banks, employers, and anybody having to do with a wedding to not accept any contacts from OP's parents. And also OP, make sure when it comes time for the wedding, you hire security. I have no doubt they will try and show up and ruin the day. To the story. People involved. Me, my mother Karen. If you've read my previous post, you know that Karen is just delusional, crazy, a truly repulsive person. Entitled, barely human. Pick any or all of the above and add your own as needed. And that I have very little contact with her, with good reason. We do still speak on the phone occasionally, around once a month, because I don't like remaining resentful and holding grudges, even if they are completely deserved, hate breeds hate and all that jazz. And I like being happy. Well, the day before yesterday was one of the days I decided to give her a quick call to check if she was still alive, etc. During the conversation I made a passing remark about having an appointment with my therapist, at which point she went very quiet indeed for a while and then started questioning me about the therapist while trying to sound like she's completely indifferent about it. After getting absolutely nowhere in her questioning, she announced that she's driving to see me the next day, yesterday. Now understand, this is completely unheard of and also completely unwelcome. We live in different cities, it's a long drive, and I just don't like her company. It's also been well over 2 years since she's come to visit, so this was more than a little odd. I explained to her that I couldn't meet her yesterday, I didn't want to and that I was working so I couldn't anyway. She completely ignored me and told me that I could make time to see my mother and that she was coming anyway. I kept asking her what was the point of her coming, a valid question in our relationship. We don't do social visits, and she said does she need a reason to come and visit her son? I replied yes, I've got better things to be doing, so if it's not important, what's the point? She obviously just kept ignoring me, told me what time she'd be arriving the next day, so unfortunately, I was getting a visit from Karen. I've lived where I do now for about 3/4 years, and on the few times she has been to the city I live in, she's got this weird obsession of trying to get into my house. She's not welcome. She always tries different methods, like oh I want to get you something for your place, let's go and see what you need, or how's the view from your place, can I see? Or can I use your toilet quickly? So naturally, I don't let her. I've got nothing to hide from her, I genuinely don't care what she thinks about any aspect of my life. But I grew up with literally zero privacy, she and my dad would go through all my things constantly when I was younger. Bags, pockets, phone, room etc. So now when she's trying to do something that she has no right to do, I take great enjoyment from stopping her doing those things. And I'm always sure to politely let her know that the reason she's being treated like this is because of how she treated me for so long, and it's simply a taste of her own medicine. The look on her face is genuinely priceless when I do this. The time arrives, and she lets me know she's outside, so I go down and meet her. Surprise surprise, she had reason to try to get inside. This particular plan to get into my place was that she'd brought with her loads of her second-hand house stuff that she didn't want anymore, and neither do I, 2 big bags and a box, and told me she'd brought me some useful things for my place, so can I hold the door while she carries it in. I said, don't worry about it, you watch the car, I'll carry it up. There was no reason to watch the car at all. No, it's heavy. I'll carry it and help you unload it all. If it's heavy, all the more reason for me to carry it. Anyway, what even is it all? Don't be silly, I need the exercise. It's a load of old stuff from my house that I don't want anymore. It'll be very useful for you. She has zero knowledge of the things that I own. I've got everything I need, thanks. I've brought it all this way. Why are you rejecting presents? As I said, I don't need anything, and I don't want the things that you are effectively throwing out. Shall we stop wasting time and go and talk about whatever it is you want to discuss? Yes. So open the door, let's put these things inside and go. You know you're not coming inside, so either put them back in car or I'll take them inside and then we can go. She realized at this point this plan of hers wasn't going to work either, so just left the things on the floor and got back in the car. I took them inside, hopped in her car with a big smile and said, see, that wasn't too bad, was it? The look on her face nourished my soul. So we arrive at the cafe, sit down and order some stuff, etc. I cut right to it because I really do have work to be doing, and well, spending time with this woman is close to being the very last thing I would choose to be doing with my days. So what was so important that you had to drive here then? When we spoke the other day, you said you were seeing a therapist, yes, and why do you need to see a therapist? Why is that your business? I'm your mother. I have a right to know everything about you. You really don't. Just tell me why you're seeing a therapist, because I think it's a healthy thing for me to be doing, but what do you talk about while you're there? I really don't have to tell you anything about it at all. I'm your mother, I have a right to know what's wrong with my son. I couldn't help but laughing a little at that comment. You've never cared what's wrong with me, ever. And usually, you're what's wrong with me. How can you say that? Just tell me what you talk about in therapy. I'll tell you a little, but you won't like it at all. The only reason I was willing to tell her anything is because I knew the effect it would have on her. I'm an adult, I can take it. Fine. Well, we speak about my childhood a lot. What about it? One thing is the fact that I don't have a single happy memory from when I was younger involving you or Dad. Dad's dead now. The only happy memories from when I was young involve my dog, my friends and playing football. That's literally it. I can't believe you're lying to people about that. Lying? You're joking, right? You made my life miserable. Why do you think I moved out so young and stopped speaking to you for so long? Hormones. Jesus Christ. If I'm lying, please tell me about these happy memories from my childhood that I'm now blocking out. So I take you don't remember skipping down the street with me holding hands. Now, I was genuinely interested as to what she was going to say here, but this made me laugh out loud. No, I definitely don't remember skipping down the road with you. Now that I think about it, I can barely remember a moment when we've even walked down the street together at all. The truth, when even was this? I must have been about 5. You were 4, seriously? See, I told you you've got happy memories with me. Okay. Well, first of all, if I don't remember something, then it's not a memory, is it? And also, this can't have been a regular thing. Oh no, we did it once or twice, but it's a lovely memory. Once or twice. You do understand that one little thing from when I was 4 doesn't overwrite the years of crap you put me through, don't you? Because it doesn't. At all. And the fact that the happy memory from my childhood that you can think of happened once or twice when I was 4 proves my point. You're being dramatic. You're delusional. But I don't hold it against you anymore, hence why we are still speaking. There's no point in talking to you about these things, because you deny it, blame it on me, say it wasn't that bad, etc, etc. That's why I thought it was pointless you coming today. So, if that's all you wanted to talk about, then I'm going to go, because I've got stuff I need to finish. Okay, fine. But please stop lying in therapy about me. I'll keep being completely honest about you to my therapist and my friends. If you didn't want to be spoken about badly, you should have tried being a decent person. It's too late for that now, just sit there staring at me. With a big smile, well, this was lovely, thanks for coming, drive safe on your way back. I paid the bill and walked out of the cafe. Oh, I'm glad OP is speaking to the therapist. And I'm so sorry you had to grow up like that. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a crazy woman who tried to convince OP's mom to sell her mom's child. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.